Hello and welcome back to Black Girl Couch Reviews. I'm your host, Christina. We are back for another episode of The Flash. This is Season 8, Episode 8, The Fire Next Time, written by Joshua V. Gilbert, directed by David Mig Werder. I gave this episode an 8.6 out of 10. It was a little bit of a more character-driven episode, and that's fine. I thought this was a good remembrance of a father who went to jail for a crime that he didn't commit, and that's what started things on the path of the Flash. Well, also the fact that Reverse Flash killed his mother, but I like the fact that we talked about the justice system and what it means to go through the justice system, and then also what it means to life after you've been a convicted criminal. Some of it was a little however, it still was a good episode. I really liked the Barry aspect of it, the way the teams talked it out. It was a little, repetitive in some places, but for the most part, I thought it was pretty good. Before we jump into the episode, do me a favor, wherever you're listening to this, whatever platform, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, go down to the comment section, review section, drop some stars, leave a comment. Very much appreciate it. My social media will be there as well. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can also send all types of feedback to blackgirlcouch@gmail.com for any of the shows that I do. So let's go ahead and break this down into the Jocko storyline and then the Iris storyline. I think I have quite a bit to say about both. The Jocko storyline starts with a man named Sten who is attacked in his bar. He does seem to know his attacker, and he says, "Look, I'm not giving you any more money." He assumes himself that it is, in fact, Hotness, who I forgot all about until I recalled that's who Iris was up against when she said, "Give me money, I need money." It's nice how Eric Wallace is able to take a comedic or a ridiculous character and then try to rein them in and kind of redeem them in a certain manner. And I like the consistency of seeing familiar faces. I think that's good in a TV series when you're able to see different sides of them. But his name is Jocko, and he has been recently paroled from Iron Heights. He has a job as a security guard for a rock band. Now, there is a talk in this episode about how some people can step into a career and how some people cannot. I'm wondering if they were making some intentional racial commentary on that, because he happened to be Caucasian and he stepped into a relatively nice job where you had the Hispanic ex-con who can only become janitors even if they didn't intend to. I think that was something to be remarked upon. Barry is staring off into the distance. We know something's wrong when Iris comes down, says, "Let's have dinner tonight." He's kind of like, "Sure." Then she looks at the calendar and realizes what day it is and says, "No, we should just stay in." And she wonders if he's okay. And he's like, "No, I'm fine. You're busy. You don't have to take off work. I'm going to be okay. I got to go to work as well." But she realizes that it's Henry's birthday. I straight did pause the TV just so I could see what was on that damn calendar. They have movie night in the park going back to season, 4? There was acupuncture for Iris on there, a lot of date night. One of the ones that really caught me was FaceTime or video chatting with Cisco. Thought that was nice touch on there. And Barry goes to work, and that's when he finds the charred remains. He immediately knows who the suspect could be because of the witness's identification of the shirt that he was wearing for the band Lips. They go to pick him up and arrest him just as he has an argument with his son. Well, he's trying to spend time with his son, but he's a very "Yeah, I'm not trying to hear it, Dad. I got my headphones in my ears." And he tried to get backstage passes, and that was what the basis of the argument was with Sten. Like, he sold him a guitar. He only gave him half of what he said he was going to give him, which means that he disappointed his son, which was why they started the argument. He does get a little steamed up when he's emotional, and the Flash comes and knocks him into the into the pond, like, cool off, sir, cool off, and puts the medicuffs on him. He pleads in with the Flash, like, I'm innocent, please don't take my son away from me. And of course, this gives Barry PTSD from when his own father was framed for the murder of his mother. And so the entirety of the rest of the episode, he is convinced that he is innocent despite all the evidence. He goes to Cecile first and asks her to review the case, and she's like, yeah, he has no alibi. The murder happened, around the time that they had the argument. The powers match. This is looking like a slam dunk case. The evidence all points to him. And I understand what Barry's trying to say. Why aren't we looking at other suspects? But why would you look at other suspects when it's clear that the timeline matches up? Like, it'd be really hard to believe that this man was innocent other than the fact that he's saying he's innocent. But that's what all criminals do tend to say. So he asks Cecile to use her powers of empathy to try to read him, which she says with clients is something that she ethically is not going to do.
Excuse me? What the air?
Now, we have seen her clearly in the past use these powers for that exact same reason. But I also can allow that maybe after using it, she decides, no, this is probably crossing the line. And I'm perfectly fine with that because I totally believe that it is crossing the line. So I don't care when they had that decision. We know it's happened in the past, but her deciding now, like, nope, we're not going to do that. That's fine by me. I don't have that issue as inconsistent because you can always change. She does agree to meet with him, hear his side of the story. And she does agree that he feels that he is innocent. However, she still doesn't know how a jury is going to be able, as his lawyer, to actually not see that he is guilty. Like, the correlation is way too strong. Then there's the case of him breaking out of jail, which is never how you prove your innocence. Even though Barry had a good point when Frost was framed for a crime. Did she not run? That's what people do when they're scared. But that's also really kind of a light argument. I understand being afraid of the justice system because you've been a criminal before, but you also chose to be a criminal before. That's where me and this episode kind of split in a little bit of a way, because every case is not the same case. And that must be relevant. Like, we all don't decide to go out and do crime. Whatever the circumstances, I grew up in a not so great household. I grew up in a bad neighborhood. I've had some of those same factors that criminals put up as excuses or reasons why they chose the life of crime. And yet everybody doesn't make that choice. So I don't like blanketing statements about criminals, just the way I didn't like in what's that show that is finally ending? Oh, I don't even remember, but it was a TV show where New Amsterdam, there it goes, where they were being way too blanketed with their statements and making bold assumptions that that doesn't tackle the whole issue. And it's not just, and it's supposed to open a conversation. I think that's where Iris and Allegra was getting at the end of the episode, which I have an issue with how Allegra handled things, definitely, with criminals and, what it means to re-enter society. Yes, there is that attachment of your crime, and it can be very hard to reintegrate into society. You're not going to have the same opportunities. But that's also why you don't become a criminal. Like, everyone deserves a second chance, but there's nothing to say that second chance is not going to be is going to take time. And it's also going to take, or it's also going to come with a lot of things that you aren't no longer privy to because of your past actions. And whether that's completely fair or not is also back into that idealism of that's why you don't turn to crime. And then you definitely, on top of it, don't decide to run and break out of police custody because you want your son. Like, I can understand if you went through the whole entire trial first and they said guilty and you're going back to jail and you're just like, I'm not going back to jail. My child's in foster care, whatever the case may be. But he didn't even allow a chance for the justice system to do its thing. He just said, fuck it. And I don't think that that's a good idealism either, because in the end, it was, in fact, the CSI, who happened to also be the Flash, but someone who was able to see his innocence. And that's what you're supposed to as a CSI. Your job is not to try to make the person guilty and ignore the evidence. If it you just follow the evidence. Your evidence is unbiased, right? So I got where Joe was also saying as well, like, unfortunately, because of your situation, you're now able to see what other people can't see, which is when someone is genuinely telling you the truth and not. But there is the push, and there's a conversation about conflict, about how conflict is good. You are not supposed to have conflict in your life. You're not supposed to see things from two different perspectives. The goal is to try to compromise and get to the truth. So I did like the fact that his team was pushing back on him, being like, look, we are trying to help you, but things are continuously pulling in the other direction of this person is guilty. He's broken out of jail, and he's also a meta that has powers that could possibly hurt someone innocently because of his emotional state. So because of his emotional state, he should be in jail. He also could have possibly gotten out on bond. I don't know. I know how the court system works. And didn't Frost eventually turn her ass in because she said, you know what? I have to go through due process. But that was a whole other thing with her, because she's like, yeah, I did also have these crimes on my record that are absolutely true. And that's the part where I feel as if they weren't acknowledging, like, it's not as if we're coming after you for no reason. But I also like the idea of sometimes the evidence can point one way and the truth is not in that direction. So that whole conflict, I really like seeing that play out between the team. Cecile being there, trying to, be a voice of reason, but also being like, because he even pushed back, like, you guys are just thinking he's guilty. Like, no. We're not trusting, or not trusting your instincts, but the evidence is only mounting up further. And you have nothing else right now except for the fact that there is heat signatures that you want Chester to look at. And he's like, of course I'm going to look at them. I'm not going to not do my job, but I do need to voice my concerns in case this doesn't turn out the way you want it to. And I don't know how they didn't know, and I guess that's fair. But how did they not put it together that his father was framed for being innocent? Well, I guess that would come out of absolutely fucking nowhere. You've been doing crimes all this time, and this one time, you're like, this guy is innocent. But I also felt like they wouldn't have, maybe if Caitlin was there, but Frost, no, she probably wouldn't have been thinking about, hey, your father's connected to all of this. And then that's when he brought it up about his father being framed. That Cecile goes, oh, I didn't realize that you were connecting this to your own situation with your father. And that's when she got Papa Joe. And he shows up and he says, yeah, I remember when that board was covered with other types of evidence. And I love their one-on-one talk. I like the way they're utilizing Joe and Cecile. I know that we've made jokes about them, particularly Cecile, in the past. Like what clients, I don't need to see every detailed bit of their lives to know that they're doing shit. So it's only when you don't see them doing something or it doesn't directly connect to the storyline that you're just like, what's the point here? This was a good utilization of both characters. Joe coming in, being able to understand Barry in a way that everyone else couldn't. Like, they don't know what today is, that it is your father's birthday. Yes, you could be having blinders on, but you also could see something that other people can't see due to your experience. And so you need to trust your gut. And maybe you're going to be wrong, but if you feel that this man is innocent, don't give up just yet. And I love that pep talk from him. And then he gets a call. He is then brought back to Star Labs, where nothing but employees work there. I love it. I do. Cecile's there because she represents the case. And Chester says, look, you were right. I compared the data signatures. This is cold fusion or nuclear fusion, something to that effect. Something hotness cannot do. So you're right. He is innocent. They get the evidence on a flash drive. He gives it to... I don't know why he just didn't give it to the lawyer to take it to CCPD, but sure. Flash needs to take it to CCPD because we do have a criminal on the loose. And they don't know that he is innocent and that he's just acting out, even though that's still not an excuse. I think that if you break out of police custody, yes, you do need to serve some time for that, even if you were innocent. That's when he shows up to where the social services van and that one police officer, she getting her time in, ain't she? She getting her time in. And I like that, showing other little people in the cast doing things. She comes in and she brings out, although they all have the meta guns now. Like, yeah, we're supplied. No more of these fucking bullets that ain't gonna do shit. So she busts out her meta gun. She tells him, look, I need you to get on the ground. You need to come in. He's like, no, you're not gonna separate me from my son. His son comes out, says, look, you're a fucking total loser. And he's like, yeah, I am. I have been since I've been born, but I wanted to do things better because I left you for 4 years while I was in prison. And then your mom, his mom, is someone who pops in and out of his life. And thus, he knows that his son suffered for the 4 years as much as he did in jail, and he wasn't able to take care of him. And that was the inspiration he needed to get his shit together. And that's what he's been trying to do, get a fresh start with his son. But I also don't think that a fresh start with your son is just going to happen overnight. You do need to prove that you'll be in his life for a lot longer. And you also shouldn't do criminal activities while trying to prove that you're not an actual criminal. His story I liked, but some of it was contradictory. He gets upset. He displays his powers. The standoff was a little silly because either you're gonna throw flame balls or you're not. And he didn't really want to hurt anyone, so that's where I'm kind of like, why don't you just be patient for a second? And why couldn't the Flash just visit him and be like, hey, so I heard you were innocent. What makes you feel that you're... I like the way he did it, though. Not choosing to be the Flash. Choosing to be Barry Allen in this particular case, the CSI. But even that, I'm like, why couldn't you show up as Barry Allen, the CSI? But maybe that's conflict of interest. See, I'm already answering all my questions. So Flash shows up with Frost, and she is able to put out some of the hot lava that he ended up boiling because of his emotional state. He's like, I didn't intend on doing it. I'm not doing anything. He's like, it's okay, but you can help save the day. I'm going to phase down into the ground and open up all the water pipes, and then you're going to absorb all the heat. Having Chester say the Flash doing his thing underground was so not necessary, but we got the point. Yeah, and in the end, he goes back to his lawyers and he's like, thank you, CSI, for reaching out to the Flash and telling him not to give up on me. I appreciate it. And his son's he's gonna get in the custody of his father. But the judge also asked, because he's almost 18, where he did want to go, and he did say with his father. So watching his father do something heroic to save the day changed his mind, or at least opened him to the idea of maybe he has indeed changed. Because, there was that time that you didn't, and you tried to rob stores for money. The rock music, I didn't need it, but it was alright. Let's go to the other story arc. I think we've covered everything there on those bases, which is the Allegra CC and the what is the girl's name? I don't even remember. But this is one of those instances where Iris has to delegate, and she says, look, we're doing this citizen of the week, and I have been presented with a story about a social media influencer. Allegra's like, this is bullshit. I'm not interested in this. This is boring. I don't care about it. And this is where Allegra's gonna, and I like the fact that they left it very not tied up in a bow. Because while I get where Allegra was going, I'm totally understanding what this other chick's problem was. And I truly understand the cultural discrepancy here as well. Like, she wants to go interview a social media influencer. Like, what are you like? This is garbage. You're a garbage person. No one cares about that, because she's, she comes from a different type of life where things are a little bit darker and more real and more concrete and based on, not necessarily the other side of how some people get to live their life in white privilege. I don't want to read about a social influencer, but Iris brings up a good point. I have to make a business decision, not based on what you like. Oh my God, I feel like that's meta for The Flash. It's a lot of shows, really. Where he's like, yeah, that's 500,000 people that's possibly going to look into our article based on that. And then they can look at other things that might interest them. And that's how we get people to clickbait in learning about other things. Like, you gotta play the game. That's emotional maturity, emotional intelligence. Allegra doesn't want to be emotionally intelligent. She wants to do what she wants to do. She keeps telling Iris, you're right. She doesn't like the fact that the girl went behind her back, but Iris is like, no, she disagreed with you. She followed the proper chain of command, and I read it and I agree. It needs some work, but hey, I think this is what I want to go with this week. She then assigns the two women to work together, and she is her supervisor, right? She's a supervising editor. Allegra's not about it, but she decides to go to the interview with the media influencer and dismisses her as, and truthfully, I get it. It's not like I don't get it, but this is what you do when you are in a position of influence and power. You don't have the same personal preference as you would like. You're gonna do and have to sit around with people you don't connect with, but it's part of your job. You can't just cater to one audience. You have to cater to the entirety of the audience that you're trying to bring in. And like Iris was saying, sometimes you have to take stepping stones to get them interested in things that you want them to be interested in. Because nobody wants to hear about the sad, depressing lives of convicts. However, if you pull them in with something else, maybe they stumble across that and they learn something. I thought it was very disrespectful what Allegra was doing. She's yawning. She's just like, tells her, oh, I dropped out of college because, I didn't really think it was for me. Everyone doesn't go to college, girl. And your ass didn't go to college, so I don't know why you over there dragging her for filth for not staying and getting her college degree, but whatever. Bottom line, she doesn't find her useful. She finds her plastic, immaterial. And then in the middle of her supposed to be supervising and mentoring, she decides to just walk up and leave during an actual interview. That was beyond rude. and she spots someone that was in Iron Heights with her. I wasn't with this lady at all. I'm sorry, I don't know what that says about me. But oh my God, I got out of jail and I worked my ass off in jail to get my GED, and the only thing I could do is scrub toilets. Bitch, people don't have criminal records and get out of college and all they can do is scrub toilets or work at McDonald's or do this and that and the other thing. I don't think you have a really big right to complain right now, but that's just how I feel. I feel that you should be happy that you get a job. It's not going to be the job you want, and it's definitely not going to happen overnight. And like she said, like, okay, mopping floors is the best I'm going to be able to do, but you're free. That's the whole point. It's like you're not going to get the same benefits as everyone else, and if that is the case, it's going to take time. You got to prove it a lot too. And she tells her, look, I'm gonna expose your situation to the entire world, and she decides to go with that story. Not only go with that story, decide that story is more important than a social media story, writes it better and presents it to her boss, who can't say no, because the other story that she was supposed to be supervising is with no context, it's sloppy, and now she has to go with her story. And she's like, yeah, that's my job as the lead to do that, but you need to know that you fucked up. You were supposed to be mentoring this other person, and now you just took her spot, and you need to go make that right. Like, you are her supervisor. I'm your boss, and I'm telling you, you fucked up. So she goes back to apologize to her afterwards. And I will say the apology was a little sloppy too. Because you don't say, I'm sorry, I messed up, I got caught up in my own shit, it won't happen again, we're going to run your story next week. It does seem like you're, goody two shoes with the boss. And you're pretty much self-sabotaging your own team because you don't think that what they have to say is as important. And you can't do that. You cannot do that. And I've been around plenty of people in corporate America. I could tell you that I don't respect them in the same manner whatsoever. I can't stand them on a personal level. But it's not I have to work with them. You work with people you don't like, you would never have something in common with. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. You don't know if you don't ever put in the effort to try. And you're working together. So her saying, I'm gonna destroy you and you're a criminal, like, that was wrong for her to call her a criminal like that. But her feelings was hurt. And I can't even blame her feelings being hurt. She feels very resentful. And I feel like this is also not the first time. She walks around looking at you like you are nothing but a piece of shit. That's how Allegra looks at you. Looks at that girl. Like, you're nothing but white privilege, and thus I don't need to respect you. And I see a lot of people doing that in the real world right now, and that's not okay. It's not. That girl didn't do nothing to her at all other than be someone that isn't as relevant to you as some other things. Oh, let me just talk about the real world. Yeah, but it's also nice not to have to talk about the real world. That's why people jump into People Magazine or USA Weekly or whatever the fuck. Because there is also the need for the fluffy shit. It sells too. And that's what Iris is trying to get her to understand. Like, if you're gonna rise further up in this, your emotional intelligence is gonna have to rise with you. You're gonna have to take yourself out of the equation sometimes and do what needs to be done. And the fact that you were supposed to be helping her be better, and then you yourself just presented yourself as better, as if this person is useless and never will be, like, we're just gonna give you this. I was totally on the other girl's side. Don't even know her name. And she did say she's going to destroy her. So they're going to have beef in the future. And I like the fact that they're going to have an ongoing, because they're going to need to learn from each other, I feel. And I think that's a pretty good story arc for Allegra to have, because it allows for personal growth. She sees herself as only the former convict that she was, and now she wants to try to help other people out. That lady shouldn't have even made her feel guilty. Oh, you just stepped into a job. So that does happen to some people, for real. Like, luckily Iris took a chance on you and decided that you were worth something. And thus she's trying to just pay it forward. So I get where she's coming from. However, that's not what you're supposed to do. When you're a mentor, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to mentor other people. Get them to where you want them to be. Maybe today she's going to do a social media influencer story arc. Maybe that's where her life is. But maybe you can influence her or inspire her to be interested in other things. You're not even giving it a chance. So I like the fact that they're going to give her this particular arc going into the future. It also keeps CCC pretty active in the story arc. Nothing on Iris and her disappearing this week, which I'm sure really pissed off Shy. I understand the impatience of wanting to get to a particular arc, especially as it's been dangling for a little while. But nothing to report on it this episode. But I love how it did end with the family on the porch. And they're all drinking beers because that's what Henry liked to drink. He always told Joe that I would drink something fancy when you buy it. Barry throwing out mac and cheese and Hawaiian rolls. That shit is fire. We also know that ever since Barry was a young child, Jesus, can't talk. He's been loving soul food. He's like, yeah, mama tried to give me the peas and that weak ass chicken. And I was like, that shit is bait. So let me get this mac and cheese. Let me get all of the carbs. I love the little way in which Iris and Joe was like, them Hawaiian rolls. Those are fire though, for real. Those are fire. And Cecile asking, like, what do you remember? And he's like, the little things, but mostly I just remember being loved. And I thought the way it ended was such a very sweet way to end the episode. A very uplifting, homey feel to the episode. And it also ends with a cliffhanger because now that they have cleared Jocko for the crimes, they also don't know what's happening with this meta that is not in the book. They mentioned leveled up in this episode and I wanted to slap somebody. But it was only one time, so I forgave it. And they realize, he's like, wait a minute, you need to check for signatures. I'm pretty sure we have a meta serial killer. I like that. Someone that doesn't have to be over the top, doing something for reasons unknown, and that it is something rather under the radar. It's like a killer, but a serial killer with meta powers. That's something I can get on board with. Thus far, The Flash this season has felt a bit more grounded in reality. And I like the adjustment. It's based more on realistic expectations of a week-to-week TV show and versus kind of how the show has been, which a lot of people still reference back to seasons 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, my neighbors, and I'm not cutting that out. Seasons 1, 2, and 3, where everything was so building up to these fast-paced, huge reveals, huge villains. Yeah. As I mentioned before, that's all well and fine, but eventually reality has to come back into it because you can't keep making the big arcs from The Flash the only arc in The Flash. And because people got so used to that, resetting it, especially after those, the 4 and 5 season, little bit of a divide, trying to bring people back on, but me personally, as a Flash fan, I like where the trajectory is going. But I'm not the only person with an opinion on The Flash. We do have some mail in the mailbag. So let's hear what Queen Mimi has to say about this episode.
What up, Christina? It's Mimi. This is my feedback for The Flash, episode 8 of season 8. I'm not quite sure how I felt about this episode. I don't feel like I hated it because I don't remember looking at the time and be like, oh my God, this is dragging, or like rolling my eyes, or like having to pause it and go back to it, or like realizing that I'm not paying attention because I'm on my phone. Like, I don't remember doing that. And those are usually signs that I'm not liking an episode of anything, and I don't remember doing that. But there was just a lot of it that irritated me. The first part was the whole Allegra storyline. Now I know, I get it. Okay. Allegra I thought she was in juvie. But I thought she was like underage, and maybe I'm just misremembering, but I thought she was like not in prison, but in the juvie part of the Iron Heights. But then I was like, Iron Heights is a prison, isn't it? I don't remember, but I know she was young. I do know that when Allegra was young when she got in trouble. But like this girl Lydia, and I'm gonna try real hard not to call her like names and call her out of her name, because this heifer really, I done already did it. She really irritated me. Like, Allegra was like, oh, Lydia, is that you? Like, she like acknowledged her, and she was like, oh, you see me now? It's like, bitch, I just said hi. Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I'm going to try and get my words together, because I feel like if I don't sit and think about what I'm going to say, I'm going to ramble, because the whole scene in Jitters with the interaction between Allegra and that broad Lydia really pissed me off. Okay, so I had wrote notes down, and I had to look through them because I was finna go in, and I'm really trying not to like drag anybody. And this is like the second time I'm recording, because I felt like I was like ranting and raving, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to send this. So I hit delete and I started over. So I'm not sure if I brought up, but I had a question about Allegra. I thought she was in juvie. I think I did say that already, and that, like, I'm not sure if I said that in the first take that I had or if in the second, but I just need someone to clarify for me, because that's really bothering me. I thought Allegra was really young when she got arrested, but I remember her being in Iron Heights, and Iron Heights is a prison, so I'm assuming she must have been at least 18. But I do know she was young enough that Iris gave her a chance. So like, the thing, the beef that I have with Lydia is like the way she just came at Allegra. It looked like Allegra when she was like, oh, hi, you know, is that you? How you doing? Like, that was seemingly the first time she saw her. Now, I don't know if she was saying, oh, finding you to finally fucking notice me, but if a person is going into a coffee shop, I know for me, I don't just go in there looking around in case I know someone. I go in with, I'm like thinking about what I want. If I haven't pre-ordered it before I walked in, and I'm going to pick it up, but I go straight to the counter because I know where it's at. I go to the barista and I tell them what I want, and then I go wait for my drink. I don't go in coffee shops to dilly-dally. If I'm there, especially if I'm there because I need some quiet time, I'm really not looking around. So the fact that she like happened to look up and saw her, and she was like, oh, you know, great for you to notice me. Like, okay, I didn't notice you before, I'm noticing you now. And then she was like coming at Allegra like for instance, that she got out of jail, and she was like, Allegra, help me. And Allegra was like, fuck you, bitch. You go mop up some dirt, or you go, you know, scrub some toilets. I forget what she said her first job was. Like, she made it seem like Allegra just snuffed her, like they were best friends, and she just flat out ignored her, or she asked her for help and she just didn't. Like, is Allegra supposed to now, like, she got out of jail, she made a better choices, she got her life together, and now she's doing well. Is she supposed to go look for everybody that she knew when she was in prison and give them a job and money? Like, I don't understand why she was so aggressive. Like, I understand what like the writers were trying to do, but that whole scene was unnecessarily aggressive. Like, if you come at me like that, like, bitch, I don't owe you anything. Nobody gave me anything. I had to prove myself. She happened to, like, Allegra got out and she happened to find Iris. And Iris and Barry happen to be people that are very forgiving. But she could have easily been a criminal or easily been looked at her like a criminal, and nobody gave her anything. She happened to turn her life around, and she just happened to be with the with good people. So Allegra got lucky. It's not, you know what I'm saying? So because she got lucky, it's her job to go find everybody that she went to jail with and give them a leg up. That's not how it works. That's just not life. Like, I dug myself up out of the bottom. Now, I'm not saying that I won't help somebody, but I'm not obligated to do anything. If you want my help, bitch, this is not how you gonna get it. And that's just how I would have felt. Like, you can't come at me trying to drag me for filth because you didn't happen to get good chances or get lucky when you get out. If you want my help, I want to help you, but you're not gonna get it like this. Like, I know I'm not explaining this right. It was just a whole interaction just made me mad. And then, like, the girl she was supposed to be interviewing, like, I understand, like, the girl was mad that Allegra scooped in and took her byline. But you do realize Allegra is your fucking boss. And if it was me, like, she's threatening you. I'm gonna make your life miserable. It's like, bitch, do you know who I am? She is literally, like, the sidekick of the fucking boss. I would have been like, now I'm gonna give you one more chance to fix your mouth, fix your face, and rephrase what you just said. Because I promise you, between the two of us, you can't ruin my life. I will ruin yours. Because in case you literally just said, in case you forgot, I have the boss's ear. And I have her husband's ear. I know shit. I'm in deep, ho. You don't know me. And I would have made sure she knew I'm not the one. And the way Allegra was like, I apologize. I'd have been like, hold up, back the fuck up. Because you clearly don't know your place. In case you forgot, I am your boss. And you ain't gonna just talk to me any kind of way. So you need to revise what you just said, or be ready to be fucking fired. Because you can't ruin my life if you're not here. The end. And, like, Allegra just sitting there with her mouth open, like, just taking it. Like, yes, you're the supervisor, but you're her boss. You can't talk to your boss like that. Even if, like, and the fact that she went over your head lets you know that she clearly thinks that she's capable. Like, yes, she followed protocol or whatever, but I would have let her know right then. It's like, I'm not gonna go to Iris because I'm your supervisor. I can fire you. I will make recommendations. I would have her, like, demoted, something real petty. I would make it, like, worse than being fired. Like, you'll be doing grunt work. You'll be fucking getting people's coffee. I just, that whole storyline just really irritated me. Then she was like, oh, I'm gonna write a story about Lydia, after she just dragged the shit out of you for absolutely no reason. Now you want her to be on the cover story, and what is that gonna do? How are you gonna help her because people know her story? That's not even helping her at all either. Is it supposed to get her a job? Could you get her a job? Is it that easy? Just that whole thing, it bothered me, and I'm gonna stop talking about it. I guess I did like, Barry, wanting to, believe someone, understanding that if someone would have listened to his dad and understood that he wasn't guilty, he wouldn't have lost that time. But everything old dude was doing was making him look guilty as fuck. Like, okay, you didn't kill anybody, but you did go to that girl and threaten her. And threatening people with violence is a crime. So you're not making matters better. So I don't know. And I guess it's like a mystery now, because I know they finally brought it up. But if old dude didn't kill those two people, y'all got a person that's a serial killer on the loose that's probably just gonna be freezing people to death throughout the rest of the season. I don't know. Is this one of the consequences of the siblings going through time fucking shit up? Curious. I am very curious. What else? And the other thing was, like, Frost. How Frost was like, he's a criminal. Like, bitch, aren't you a criminal too? Isn't your boyfriend a fucking... Both y'all felons. Like, she has some audacity. It's like, are you forgetting your past? Like, I get all signs point to him being guilty. All signs pointed to you being guilty. You broke yourself out of jail too. You ran. Everything he's doing, you did. But now you got some type of moral ground. Your boyfriend was legit guilty, and he killed people. And he turned state evidence, and now he's a free man, but he's still guilty of the shit that he did. You had some type of fucking nerve. Oh, and the other thing was Cecile. Like, please let me be wrong. My memory ain't good, and I don't have enough energy to go back and look. But didn't Cecile use her powers before to read someone? Wasn't it Allegra that she used? She was like, I don't think she did this. She's not guilty. Didn't she? Is it she the reason Allegra, like, they started to believe Allegra because she read her and she was like, people with that kind of remorse, like, guilty people don't feel like that? Am I wrong? Because I feel like that's what happened. And she's saying, oh, I can't, that's a line I wouldn't cross. I remember because both you, Christina, and Shy both were like, isn't that some type of, like, line she's crossing using her powers for stuff like that? Like, aren't you supposed to not, like, if your client say they're not guilty, then you're supposed to believe them? You're not supposed to. Am I making that up? Because I feel like somebody didn't read the previous scripts, because Cecile had some nerve talking about something. That's something I can't do. Since when? Bitch, you was reading your whole family's emotions without their permission, even after they told you not to. Oh, God. Reading your baby's mind because you were in emotions because you didn't want to act like a real mom and just try and figure out what like everybody else do, figure it out. Like, are you hungry? Do you need your diaper change? Are you upset? You get assy? Like, she was like, oh, no, she's just hungry. Like, really? How is this different? Why you got ethics all of a sudden? Like, please somebody tell me I'm wrong. But as soon as that happened, I'm like, didn't she do that before? I don't know if they just trying to make plot points, but I seriously hope I'm wrong, because I feel like I'm not. Anyway, I think that's all I got. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here because I'm tired. I just got work and I'm about to get in the shower and go to sleep. In that order. So until next time, love, peace, hair grease, black girl magic, queen of the couch, Mimi out.
That was Mimi with her thoughts on the episode. So she definitely brought up some points that I was making in the episode. I know what you're saying about the Cecile thing. I mentioned that same thing. I personally, when it was happening, I thought it was completely unethical. So if the writers decided after that, then you know what? Actually, let's reel that back. So, like I said, people can change. You can do something one day and decide not to do. Just like Barry doesn't kill, and he technically has already dropped bodies. It's one of those things I'm not going to be too hung up on. If she decided in this moment, you know what? It's not ethical for me to do. I'm fine with that. Being a lawyer as you're supposed to do without using your powers, yeah, that's the way it should be. I will say Barry handled all the clapbacks to Frost that you were pointing out. Yeah, she doesn't have much to say, but he pretty much threw it back in her face. So it wasn't like she was saying it and getting away with it. He was definitely like, yeah, but you also know that you went through the same shit. And the only thing I will say, yes, Barry did get involved in Allegra's case. I believe she was a juvenile when it happened. You're absolutely right. Iron Heights is only for metas. So it's not like she was in there just because with other adults. It's because she was a meta and they don't have a meta juvenile wing, apparently. But there is the thing with the whole Lydia situation that was irritating. Because luck does exist, and sometimes you can't be mad because some people got luckier than you did. Oh well. But I made my feelings clear about the criminals in this episode, of how they were trying to make a case for them, but not a complete case. I get where it was trying to go, but I don't necessarily support it 100% at all, because I'm also one of those people. I have criminals. Or I have siblings that are criminals. Let me bust that back. I have criminals. Just in my army back there. So to me, I have a certain personal experience that to me, everything that Lydia was saying, I was like, and you got it. You're making money. Some people can't even get a job. What did you do? I don't know what crime you committed. Maybe you killed someone. I don't, maybe there's a reason. Like, if you're a thief, no one's going to give you a job with money. Because unfortunately, you've proven you can steal. Now, it's very hard. I agree for criminals to really get a second chance. But that second chance is your freedom. And I know our criminal system is very fucked up in this country. There is no doubt about it, particularly for brown and black people. That being said, it's not like shit just happens all the time. And that's not what we were saying in this episode. These people are saying, well, I get a second chance and it's hard. Okay. It's also hard on the first fucking chance without no criminal activity. So that's where I'm at on that feeling. I'm going to have to disagree with you about Allegra and the boss thing. A, that's abusing your power. I understand that's the default. That's the argument I was making throughout the episode. Exactly where Allegra went wrong is she dismissed this person as beneath her or less of a person with substance and thus decided, well, I don't have to really pay attention to you or mentor you or make sure you're doing a good job. I have to make sure I do a good job. And I can do that because I'm the boss's friend. Like, that's absolute another bull. If it was the other way around, think about that. If it was a white boss with a white person and that woman was black, how would we feel about that situation? We would be like, nah, that's y'all fucking got privilege over there and you're treating me like shit. That's how she feels. Doesn't matter if she doesn't fuck with her on a personal level about what she has to say or why she has. That's not the point. That's not your point. If you are going to tell me I'm your boss, then you need to be my boss. You should have been sit there supervising me during the interview and talk to me, coach me, help me do my job better. Not fuck you. I don't think that what you have to say is important. What I have to say is important. And I'm going to actually write a better article than you because I can then give it to my boss who's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do what you say. But even I'm telling you as your boss that you just did something that was absolutely wrong. And then her story was, well, I'm sorry, I could have handled it better. Not I'm going like, hold on, let me go ahead and rewrite your story, make it better, give you the byline that was promised and work my story next week. There's no reason why you needed it to happen for the first week other than you wanted your way and you kind of abused your relationship with the boss to get it. There's no way, because I've been on the other side of that equation before. So despite the fact that she is, or the woman is who, and I get what you're saying, she's her boss, she can't talk to her that way. But saying I'm going to destroy you, that's not really, yeah, you could write her up. But if you just fired her in that moment, you would be getting sued. Because that's not a reason to fire someone because they said I'm going to destroy you. You just turned about on your back and just did something equally unethical. So if y'all asses went to HR, both of y'all would be in trouble. Sorry, I went straight with old corporate man because I don't like when it's the other way around and we can see it from one side but can't see it from the other side. And I think that the only reason why Allegra dismissed her is because she just felt that she wasn't important enough. And I'm seeing that too much for me to. And you guys know, specifically, I tell y'all, I have problems with Caucasians in corporate America. It's rough out there. Sometimes I can't stand, but my scores are still 100%. You know why? Because it's not about my personal feelings. I vent about my personal feelings about these people I work with. But when I'm at my job, it's my position to do my job, not to discuss them on a personal level or treat them on a personal level just because of how I feel about them personally. That's not what it's supposed to be about. So I have to disagree that Allegra was totally in the wrong. The girl, she was in her feelings. Yes, she could have shut her mouth a little bit, but her telling her to shut her mouth is also equally just because you're the boss doesn't mean you abuse your power. And I've seen that too often to ever think that's a good idea. The thing with Lydia as well. Yeah, I don't think it was even wrong to drag her. You wanted to come out of jail and then you're playing the victim. Because I got my GED. I thought things were going to get easier. What the fuck? No. that's part of the process of, paying for a crime. You pay and pay and pay. That's why you really need to think about doing before you do it. So I'm not going to go any more into that because, like I said, I think that's just a matter of a blanketed statement they were making and not an intentional one. So we're going to wrap it up here, or a more in-depth one. If you want to send feedback for our next episode, blackgirlcouch@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below on this podcast. My social media will be there as well. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Until the next time, peace, hair grease, and black girl magic.